Sometimes you're playing a game, you check the clock, and suddenly hours are gone. Today, we're talking about 17 games that will make you feel exactly like that. Let's get started. Crimson Desert. If you're looking for something like The Witcher or Skyrim, Crimson Desert might be exactly what you need, because the open world it offers feels almost endless. Developed by Pearl Abyss, the game has already sold around 4 million copies and is shaping up to be one of the best releases of the year. You play as Cliff, a mercenary on the continent of Palworld. After the Greymane clan is destroyed by enemy forces, your goal is to reunite the survivors and rebuild it. The world is massive and seamless, ranging from green plains to deserts, even floating ruins in the sky. And the fact that it delivers all this without destroying your GPU is seriously impressive. From high points, you can literally see the entire world, and that alone feels amazing. Combat is layered and intense. You've got swords, spears, heavy weapons, wrestling moves, and more. It might feel a bit hard to control at first, but after a few hours, you'll fall in love with it. If you enjoy exploring open worlds, you won't regret the time you spend here.
Too far. Listen, just follow the waypoint.
High on Life. This game basically refuses to take itself seriously. Created by Rick and Morty's Justin Roiland, High on Life is all about hunting aliens during a galactic invasion with talking guns. And yes, the guns actually talk. They complain, argue, and randomly say the weirdest things, and this crazy energy never stops throughout the game. Under all that humor, there's a really satisfying FPS combat system. Each weapon has its own firing mode and special ability, and some work better against certain enemies. Figuring that out is part of the fun. Each world has a completely different vibe, and the transitions between them keep things fresh. But the real highlight is the absurd humor that hits you when you least expect it. If you don't want a typical gaming session and just want to relax and have fun, this game is exactly what you're looking for.
They're shooting at us! Shoot back! Come on, shoot back!
Assassin's Creed Syndicate. In my opinion, this is one of the least talked about but most refreshing games in the entire series. It's set in 1868 London, and this time, instead of a single protagonist, you control the twin siblings Jacob and Evie Fry. Jacob is direct and aggressive. He prefers to jump straight into fights and solve problems with brute force. Evie, on the other hand, focuses on stealth, planning, and precision. Being able to switch between these two completely different playstyles whenever you want adds real depth to the flow of the game. The map feels alive and full, from the narrow streets of London to the banks of the Thames, from industrial districts to areas around Buckingham. I think it captures the spirit of the era really well. The grappling hook mechanic makes moving across rooftops smoother than ever in the series. Taking back the city district by district from rival gangs and gaining control of neighborhoods is a very satisfying process. If you skipped Syndicate back in the day or want to return to the series, I honestly think this is the perfect place to start. It's way stronger than it looks, a hidden masterpiece in the franchise that still doesn't get the attention it deserves. NieR Automata. You start NieR Automata thinking it's just an action game, but after a few hours you find yourself questioning the meaning of existence and whether free will is even real. You follow android soldier 2B and her companion 9S, sent to fight machines on a world abandoned by humanity. But behind this war, much darker truths are waiting to be uncovered. Each new layer of the story reveals a completely different perspective. Yoko Taro designed the game with multiple endings, and each one adds new meaning to everything you've already experienced. When you realize that the first ending is actually just the beginning, everything changes. Mechanically, it's incredibly strong, fast-paced melee combat, bullet hell sequences, and RPG elements all come together in a way that I think feels surprisingly natural. Even the enemy designs support the deeper themes of the game. It's not a coincidence. And the music, honestly, it's on another level. Some tracks stay in your head long after you finish the game, and that's when you realize just how deeply it affected you. In my opinion, this is something most games can't even come close to. Shadow of the Colossus. There are no quest logs here, no map full of activities, no endless side missions. It's just you, your horse, and 16 massive creatures scattered across a quiet, empty world. Your goal is simple: defeat each of these giants to bring someone you love back to life. But every single Colossus is designed like a puzzle. You have to find its weak point and figure out how to reach it by reading its movements and the environment. Your grip strength drains as you climb, and if you lose your hold, the creature throws you off and you have to start all over again. And when you finally succeed, it doesn't feel like a typical victory. It feels quiet, heavy, and even a little sad. You don't always feel like celebrating. I think the game achieves something very rare: maximum atmosphere with minimal storytelling. Almost no other game has balanced this so perfectly. The 2018 remake still looks stunning today with its fully updated visuals. If you want to see how game design can truly become art, this is where you start. You'll open it for 10 minutes and suddenly realize 3 hours have passed without even noticing.
Heal your soul with mushroom stew.
Winter Burrow. At first, watching a small mouse trying to survive and stay warm in a ruined home might not sound that interesting, but I think Pine Creek Games really made it work. You play as a tiny mouse who returns to its childhood burrow in the forest after leaving the big city. Your goal is to repair your home, find your missing aunt, and survive the harsh winter by staying warm, fed, and prepared. Before going outside, you have to plan everything carefully: how far you can go, how long you'll be gone, and whether you're bringing enough supplies for a campfire. Every decision matters. Outside is dangerous. The cold hits fast, your supplies run out, and insects are constantly chasing you. But inside, it's a completely different feeling. Your fire is burning, you're cooking, knitting. It's peaceful and cozy. That contrast between danger and comfort is what defines the soul of the game. The soundtrack, inspired by Nordic folk music, even won Best Music at Gamescom 20. Navigation on the map can feel a bit overwhelming at times, and I think that's a fair criticism. But when it comes to atmosphere, music, and the emotional connection you build with that small mouse, this is definitely one of the most unique survival experiences of the year. Blueprints. This game was developed by a single person over 8 years, and honestly, it absolutely deserves that title. You play as Simon, a young man who arrives at the mysterious Poly mansion, which he supposedly inherited. His goal sounds simple: find the hidden 46th room. But here's the twist: the mansion resets itself every single day. Every door you open reveals a new room, and your options are completely random. Resources are limited, every decision matters, and one wrong choice can end your entire run. The puzzles are layered in a really clever way. Sometimes a small clue you notice early on becomes the key to solving something much bigger 10 runs later. At some point, taking notes isn't optional anymore. It becomes part of the experience. And I think that's exactly what the game wants from you. And when you finally reach the 46th room, that's when you realize the real game is just beginning. The post-game content adds a whole new level of depth. This is one of those rare games that ends but never really leaves your mind. In my opinion, it's the undisputed champion of puzzle games in 2025. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Heart of Chornobyl. You're thrown into the Chernobyl exclusion zone, the zone, and the first rule is simple: trust no one. 2 is, in my opinion, one of the most ambitious survival games in recent years. You're constantly dealing with supernatural anomalies, deadly creatures, limited resources, and decisions that actually have weight. Every step you take feels dangerous. What makes this even more impressive is that the Ukrainian studio behind it, GSC Game World, developed the game during an actual war, and somehow you can feel that intensity in the final product. The open world is incredibly dense in atmosphere. Every abandoned building, every ruined structure tells its own story and pulls you deeper into the world. The tension between factions and the consequences of your choices push this far beyond a typical survival experience. Yes, it had technical issues at launch, but most of those have been fixed with updates. This is not an easy game. It demands patience, but once it clicks, it's hard to put down. The feeling this game creates, I don't think you can find it anywhere else.
Saved my life once. And life...
Journey. This is one of those games that's honestly hard to explain because it's something you need to experience, not just hear about. You play as a silent traveler in a vast desert, moving toward a distant glowing mountain. Along the way, you might encounter other real players, but there are no names, no voice chat, no text. The only way to communicate is through simple musical tones, and somehow that's enough. In my opinion, this game shows how powerful even the smallest human connection can be. Sharing a silent journey with a complete stranger, it hits differently. That game company created something truly special here, and even years later, it still stands as one of the purest examples of what games can be. It only takes about 2 hours to finish, but those 2 hours stay with you. Almost everyone who plays it feels something similar by the end. If you're going to play it, I'd say go in blind. Don't look anything up, just experience it. Baldurs Gate 3. Larian Studios didn't just raise the bar with this game, they launched it into the sky. You start with a parasite in your brain, and removing it becomes a journey shaped entirely by your choices. And I really mean that. This game gives you true freedom. Based on D&D 5th edition rules, you can approach situations however you want. You can talk your way out of danger, or drop something heavy on your enemy's head. Both options work, and both lead to different outcomes. Each of the 6 origin characters has a deep backstory, and your relationships with them evolve naturally depending on your decisions. Losing a companion doesn't just feel like a gameplay loss, it feels personal because you actually spent time building that connection. And if you're playing co-op, things can get chaotic fast. Your friend might make one bad decision, and suddenly you're waking up in a grave the next morning. It won Game of the Year in 2023, and honestly, I don't think it had any real competition. And in my opinion, it's going to hold that level of respect for a long time.
Enough with the warm-up. Time to catch us a real monster.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Right after the disappointment of the Avengers game, this one came out in 2021, and a lot of people just skipped it. Big mistake. In my opinion, this game deserved way more attention. Eidos Montreal chose to build their own Guardians universe, completely separate from the MCU, and I think that bold decision really paid off. You only directly control Star-Lord, while the other 4 team members follow your commands in real time. Rocket specializes in area damage, Drax is all about staggering enemies, Gamora focuses on single-target damage, and Groot can root enemies in place. But honestly, the real strength of the game isn't the combat, it's the characters. The Guardians almost never stop talking, and surprisingly, most of the dialogue is actually really well written. Over the course of the 15-hour story, you see the team slowly bond and grow closer, and it feels natural and believable. The 80s music kicks in at just the right moments, and those scenes end up being some of the most memorable parts of the entire game. Sure, it can feel a bit long at times, and a few sections lose momentum, but overall, I think it's way better than most people expected. If you skip this game, you definitely missed out. South Park: The Fractured But Whole. With this game, I think there are only 2 types of people. Either you're already a fan of the show and you've played it, or you skipped it without trying, which honestly is a big mistake. This is the sequel to The Stick of Truth, and once again, you play as the new kid who moves into South Park. But this time, the entire story is built around a superhero theme, with Cartman's Coon and friends and rival groups fighting for control. The grid-based, turn-based combat system is simple but full of personality. Each character has their own unique abilities and area effects, which adds a nice layer of strategy. But the real highlight, in my opinion, is the writing. The actual South Park writers worked on the game, and it really shows. Exploring the town, completing side missions, and running into familiar characters from the show is genuinely fun. Now, let's be honest, if you don't like South Park's humor, this game probably won't work for you. 2 Point Museum, 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Campus, and now 2 Point Museum. With each game, the studio has improved the formula step by step, and in my opinion, Museum is the best one they've made so far. You're building and managing museums, but not just one type. From fossil museums to aquariums, from supernatural-themed hotels to space stations, the game offers 5 completely different locations, each with its own unique mechanics. To unlock new exhibits, you send your staff on expeditions. Some go searching for fossils, others dive deep underwater. These missions can fail, and your staff can even get injured, which adds a small but meaningful layer of risk that keeps things interesting. Because each museum introduces new systems, the game constantly teaches you something new, without overwhelming you. That's a big part of why I think it works so well. With a 91% critic recommendation and an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam, it's clear people love it, and not without reason. It's also a great entry point if you're new to management sims, since the tutorials don't overwhelm you, and the game opens up at a comfortable pace. It's clean, fun, and honestly the kind of game you might not want to put down for months. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Saber Interactive delivered something way better than anyone expected, and Space Marine 2 came out swinging. You play as a Space Marine in the Warhammer universe, which basically means you're far beyond normal human limits, almost like an unstoppable warrior, fighting against massive Tyranid armies. These swarms of alien insect-like creatures really makes you feel that scale. Cutting through huge waves of enemies rushing at you is incredibly satisfying. The combat is fast and brutal, and mechanics like parrying and perfectly timed counters become essential, especially since they're tied to your survival. You can play the campaign in 3-player co-op, and I think that alone takes the experience to another level. There's also a PvE operations mode. Matches are shorter but intense and action-packed. The game became one of the best-selling titles of 2024, and honestly, I think it fully deserves that success. If you're looking for large-scale action and strong co-op gameplay, this is easily one of the defining games of the year, and absolutely deserves a place on this list. Resident Evil 7: Biohazard. Resident Evil 7 was the moment the series really took a bold leap, and in my opinion, it absolutely paid off. They switched to a first-person perspective, and instead of sprawling cities and massive outbreaks, they focused focused on a single decrepit farmhouse in the Louisiana swamps. That's where the horror came alive. You step into this messed up place as Ethan Winters, trying to find your wife and the Baker family. They're no longer normal people. Each member is dangerous in their own way, and each one throws a completely different surprise at you. Resources are scarce, ink ribbons are limited, and you can't just stash everything you see. These choices keep you constantly on edge. Playing it in VR, in my opinion, takes it to another level. It feels like it was made for that format. And if you're new to the series, it's a perfect starting point. You don't need to know the previous games. It delivers a truly terrifying atmosphere and a well-designed, honest horror experience. Red Dead Redemption 2. This game asks you to be patient, and honestly, if you don't accept that, you might leave with the wrong expectations. Arthur Morgan, along with the Van der Linde gang, tries to survive in a shrinking world of 1899 America. Everyone in the gang feels the end is near, but they refuse to admit it. The open world is one of the most detailed examples of the genre. Rivers actually flow like water, animals live their own lives, towns change according to the time of day. Even a random encounter on the road can turn into an entire side story. All of this builds the pacing of the game, and that pace is intentional. Gunfights feel weighty and impactful, and the honor system adds new layers to your choices. Arthur's story might be the best written narrative in the series, and the final chapters carry all that weight beautifully. This isn't for people in a rush, but for anyone who syncs with the rhythm of this world. It's an experience you won't find anywhere else. Palworld. When Palworld came out, everyone was asking, wait, is this even possible? A game where you can catch Pokemon-like creatures, work with them, fight, and build factories all in one. It hit 25 million players in its first month. Pocket Pair realized, even before most of us noticed, how well this formula actually works. You can catch these creatures called pals, train them, make them fight, put them into production chains, arm them, or even ride them. Understanding that these creatures aren't just fighters, but also workers, completely changes the game. The survival and production loop is much deeper than you'd expect. Playing co-op with friends unleashes a whole new level of chaos. It still has some rough edges in my opinion, but the updates are consistent and meaningful. Honestly, finding this kind of experience in another game is really hard.